Thank you very much. Right, so today we have two public forums, which is going to be really good. Initially, we have first up Emma Hunter from Sustainable Coastlines. So Emma's got a presentation for us and is going to talk to us about the work that Sustainable Coastlines are doing locally. Welcome, Emma. It's up to you.
Kia ora koutou. I'm just going to share my screen. Perfect. Oh. Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much for having me to speak today. My name is Emma Hunter, and I'm going to be speaking to an issue that is facing the Avon Heathcote Estuary Te Hutai, that is pre-production plastic pellet pollution. So how I've come onto this issue is through my master's degree. I've just finished my master's in wildlife biology and conservation through the University of Edinburgh Napier, and my research project was the quantification and characterisation of pre-production pellet pollution in the Avon Heathcote Estuary Te Hutai. That's a little bit of a mouthful, but what I'm going to do is break down what that is, why it's happening, and what we can do to try and solve that. So I'm coming in with my student background, and then I will introduce myself in the role of Sustainable Coastlines. So hopefully everyone is familiar with the ecosystem of the Avon Heathcote Estuary Te Hutai. It is a really rich, biologically diverse ecosystem, supporting over 30,000 birds at peak times of year. It also is culturally and historically significant as a place of Huinga kai gathering, and also a place of human settlement for Maori tribes and the Europeans as well, going back over 600 years. So it is a really rich environmental site. But unfortunately, it is being polluted, and one of those pollutants is pre-production plastic pellets. What are these pellets? These pellets, they come from oil, and then they are made from oil into these tiny little plastic beads that form the raw material for all plastic items. These plastic pellets are then shipped and dispersed to different plastic industries and manufacturers that then use those pellets to melt them down and make them into the product that they sell. So these plastic beads are the raw ingredient to all plastic items. And unfortunately, they are being leached to the environment, and the estuary is no exception to that. This is a photo of the estuary bank, and you can see highlighted in the circles these plastic pellets nestled in the sediment. So my research project looked into the presence of these pre-production pellets in the estuary, and across 35 samples at 7 sites, I found 3,819 of these pellets. This sampling was by no means extensive. It was just one person doing the work over 2 days, and that is a significant amount of pellets to find. You can see the accumulation circles in the corner, the southeast corner in particular. There is a high accumulation zone there. Couple of reasons for that. They could be being delivered by the Opoaho Heathcote River from the plastics industry towards into the land. Also, the stormwater and drain outlets could be delivering these pellets into the estuary, and also the wind direction was predominantly blowing into the southeast, which could be accumulating the pellets there. But this does highlight the pellet problem in the estuary. I did also characterize these pellets and looked at what they are made up of. The predominant pellet type was clear and made of polyethylene. So these pellets most likely had a destination of being made into plastic packaging, plastic bags, and also items such as bubble wrap was what these pellets were intended to be before they were lost into the environment. So what can we do? We can try and work with the plastics industry to let them know they are losing these pellets, and to adopt best management practices to prevent the loss of these pellets into the environment. Use less plastic in general. Less plastic means less pellets are required. And also stop these pellets from traveling down storm water drains and getting into the aquatic environment. and simply building awareness of the problem, which I'm appreciative of having you asked me to speak today. Thank you to these institutions and individuals who helped me carry out my research. And just to introduce myself in my professional role as a programme coordinator for Sustainable Coastlines in Otatahi. Sustainable Coastlines are a not-for-profit organisation focused on restoring the Māori of our moana through outreach and education. So keep an eye out for our events that will be running in the Otatahi Christchurch region. Thank you for your time.
Great timing. Thanks so much, Emma. Do we have a question from anyone? There's a lot of information in a short time. What's your your next event coming up?
So our next event is going to be in conjunction with the Mother of All Cleanups, which is run with the Estuary Trust. They clean up the whole of the estuary, and we're going to be focused on the New Brighton beach clean side, and that will be on May 7th. So we haven't launched any event or registration pages yet, but do keep your eye out for that happening in the next few weeks.
That's great. Thanks so much, Emma. Really good information. Really good to look at your research there and see just the scale of the issue. And it's one of those things that we're going to have to take forward and make sure that the enforcement around different industries is done, and look at our stormwater systems and what's getting through. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. So next we have Mark Gerard from Historic Places Canterbury. Welcome, Mark.
Welcome. I take it you can hear me?
We can indeed.
Excellent. Chair, Mayor and Councillors, thank you for allowing Historic Places Canterbury to make this public forum presentation. Historic Places Canterbury, as you will be aware, has expressed our concerns with the report on the Upper Riccarton War Memorial Library. They were briefly the following: HPC could not find a heritage assessment from the heritage team. We could find no reference to the council heritage strategy, Our Heritage, Our Taonga, and a lack of public engagement. Now, recently I made a personal deputation to the Waikura Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board concerning the recommended demolition of the Woodham Park Caretakers Residence. My deputation raised the same three concerns as HPC raised on the Upper Riccarton War Memorial Library report. The Committee Board resolved for the report to lay on the table whilst a heritage assessment is done and public engagement on the future of the building is sought. HPC is very concerned there may be a pattern that if a building is not listed or scheduled, then Our City, Our Taonga does not apply, nor advice or input from the council heritage team be sought. If this is the case, HPC believes this is contrary to Our City, Our Taonga. HPC considers it should be the council's default setting, and the staff should be proactive on this. If there is a decision to be made on a building which has a social history or heritage, no matter how minor, whatever its district plan status, Our Heritage, Our Taonga applies, and heritage team advice and input should be sought. This advice input should be sought very early in the CC processes. HPC seeks your support for this. We're also concerned, HPC is concerned, public engagement priority is determined by the early decision making made up leading to the final report. HPC considers where practical public engagement should occur early on in the CCC processes to determine if there's a community interest in the future of the building. HPC seeks your support for this. Our third point, the greenest building is the one that already exists. I've circulated the publication, There's No Place Like Old Homes, Reuse, Recycle and Reduce Carbon, so from Historic England. Historic Places Canterbury respectfully requests the council and its entities should adopt whole of life cycle carbon cycle costings when costing its buildings. Any comparison between refurbishment of an existing and demolishing building new should include these costs. The demolition cost should include end of life costings. In addition, Historic Places Canterbury has an interest in the future of the Barnett Avenue pensioner cottages, the council's first and New Zealand's first council elderly housing. Historic Places Canterbury has the expectation the heritage team should be consulted on their heritage significance. Historic Places Canterbury seeks your support that for any financial calculations relating to any decisions on the future of the Barnett Ave cottages include whole of life carbon cycle costs for both refurbishment and demolition new build. The demolition costs include end of life costings. Thank you for listening to this public forum presentation.
Thanks so much for that, Mark. I see that we've got about a minute and a half left of your time. So does anyone have a question on that? Yanni?
Thanks, Mark, for your deputation. Have you also have you read the report around the Centennial Hall being demolished as well? Did you have any views on that?
I haven't yet, that one. Ross Gray is, I've been a bit busy. Ross Gray is following that up and has been reading the report and making the phone calls. I can ask Ross to get in touch with you on that.
Maybe we could ask staff to send a copy to Mr. Gerard and maybe seek some feedback.
That'd be very grateful. Thank you very much.
Can do. Make sure someone's got a note of that. Right, any further questions? No? Okay, thanks so much for that, Mark. It's important that all of our policies and things are taken into account really early on in the process, because it does have an impact as to how things end up at the end. And it's really good that people like you are keeping an eye on that and can raise issues when they're not happening. Okay, so thanks so much.
Thank you.
Right, we have no